Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. It is November the 20th. We are about 4 days away from Thanksgiving Day, and I will be away during that time as well. Now, we just got back from several days in Pennsylvania. We went up to visit a friend, and then we went to Gettysburg to participate in the Remembrance Day Parade, and that's why we were gone. As you may know, my wife and I reenact, we actually wear outfits from the 1860s and participate in the parade, which attracts in the neighborhood of about maybe 3,000 participants, and probably about 10,000 people come to see that every year, depending on the weather. The weather was wonderful until just after the parade, and then it went to hell in a handbasket. Okay, it was windy. The temperature dropped 30 degrees within about a half an hour. We were dining outside at a restaurant and had to have our meals prepared to go, as it just got to be a little bit unbearable. And anyway, so I am back. I know people have been asking a lot of questions, and I've been taking the time to answer you back. And I prepared a list here with about 5 of the top questions that I have been asked in the last couple of days. And I also want to share a couple of things that I received. Now, a viewer suggested that I contact Ink Owl because he is using Ink Owl inks for the P800, their so-called HD inks. And he went ahead and contacted Ink Owl, and they very graciously provided me with a full 4-ounce set of inks for the P800. I received this about 3-4 days ago. I'm going to go ahead and open it and see what we have. Now, I see that it includes also the syringes. Very nice. Now, my plan here was to take this and test it on the P800 that I have. But unfortunately, the problem with that is that, as you recall, the carts simply do not reset. And right now I'm nowhere near, not even maybe 75% down on my inks that I have been testing from Precision Colors at this time. Now I want you to see here, it says absolutely 0. So they provided this for free, and I'll be more than happy to test it. Now what I plan to do is try to use either the R2880 as an analog. I know it does not have the same engine as the P800, but I'm mainly interested in the gloss characteristics. I'm not worried about color. I am sure that Ink Owl inks are superb as far as color matching, and so I will go ahead and prepare a set of prints with OEM ink and a set of prints with Ink Owl, and just quickly make the comparison. Now, I may go ahead and use this also on the Pro 3880, and I have plenty of cards here to fill with these inks and test them on that machine. And that may actually be the best thing to do. But at any rate, I promised them that I would prepare a video and give them a nice unbiased report on these inks. Now, the same person who suggested that I do that and actually was instrumental in contacting them sent me a bottle of ink, and we have to open this up and see what it is. And I believe it is also from Ink Owl. And basically he wasn't going to use one of the blacks on his printer, so since he's never going to switch black inks, he decided to send me the actual ink that he's just not going to use. And of course I'll put it to use. Of course I will. Let's see if I can get this opened here. So things around here have been quite interesting weather-wise. Like I said, we had a wonderful Saturday most of the day and the day prior to that. And then a cold front came by and the winds just picked up. It was amazing the amount of leaves that were being blown around the area where that restaurant was. And oh, I see. So it's Ink Owl Ink, and it says, "Hi Jose, thanks for all your helpful information." And it is wide format, K3 compatible for the R2400, and it is photo black. Wonderful. So apparently he's going to stick with matte, which is great. I mostly use photo black, so I would love to test this. And I am primarily interested in the gloss and also the D-Max. So awesome. Okay, now let's get going here with the questions, and I'll try to give you at least my viewpoint on some of these questions and how to address them. Pro 100 owner got himself some carts, I believe probably from eBay. They were relatively dried, just like the ones that I have shown you before. And I know that I've already made some videos on how to flush these and how to pre-treat these carts. And hopefully you guys have seen these. But obviously, I guess he did not. And so he wanted to know, is flushing really needed? Well, he went on to say that he had flushed all of the 8 cartridges for the Pro 100, and the only ones that did not flush pristine white were the ones for the cyans, and they still contain a slight tint on the sponge. Now, I don't know whether he used Windex or not. If he had used Windex, they would be pristine white. What he wanted to primarily know was whether he had to treat them with that rejuvenating solution that I have back here. And I said, well, that's not really necessary, and this is for all of you guys as well. That is only used whenever you have used a set of carts and refilled them, say, 20, 30 times. Heck, I haven't achieved half the number of refills necessary yet. What happens often is that as that sponge keeps recirculating ink, sometimes it starts to develop little pockets of air, and we call that foam. And so when that occurs, then the sponge cannot feed sufficient ink at the sufficient rate necessary for the thermal heads on Canon printers to be able to remain cool, because that's the only way they can cool their resistors down to operating temperature, because ink is liquid and that keeps those resistors from becoming hot and burning up and basically ruining your printhead. So when you have a cartridge that may not be providing the flow or rate flow, or flow rate, I should say, then you had better do something. Either get a new cart and start from scratch, or flush that cart out and then pre-treat it with that solution, which was basically glycerol, alcohol, and water. And I gave you the proportions. Okay, now, so again, it's not really necessary. If you flush your carts and they are clean, all of the ink has been removed, let them dry to about a 14 gram weight or less. They will not go beyond, I think it's 13.6 grams. So anywhere between 13.6 and 14 grams is more than plenty dried. And you can use the wicking method that I showed you on that particular video to wick away all of the moisture. It actually helps you do it at a faster rate than if you just let them sit idle someplace to dry on their own. Again, so if you are able to clean your sponge, just go ahead, dry them, and fill them with the new ink. Now, I set this as the last question, but here's what happens. When you are going to refill a cart from scratch, meaning that you just flushed it and dried it, it's going to take about 13 to 14 ml of ink to fill it all the way to the top. Now, once you have achieved that and you begin to use it, you're going to be refilling those carts at the point when they reach the low warning. That means that the liquid reservoir has gone down all the way to the bottom, exposed a little prism, and that optical prism will trigger a low ink warning. That's a good time to fill them up again. And so when you do so, you're only going to be using about 8 to 10 ml of ink. It just depends on the saturation level of the sponge at that point. And one other person was asking me about, well, what are the savings? Because he's trying to talk his wife into him investing in a third-party refilling kit for the Pro 100 from Precision Colors, and he didn't quite know what to tell his wife. So I told him, well, the savings are ridiculous. And I'll give you an example. A 120 ml or 4-ounce bottle of Precision Colors dye ink for the Pro 100 sells for about $7, I believe. And of course, you're going to pay shipping, so that I'm not including that in the cost. So 120 ml, you're going to need about 10 ml max to fill that liquid reservoir. And so 10 ml divided into 120 gives you 12 refills. 12 divided into $7 is about 58 cents per refill. Now, a brand new card, OEM ink, will cost you about $14. So that's quite a savings. In fact, it's a ridiculously low amount of cost for you to be able to then continue printing and get the same quality as you did with original OEM inks, specifically if you are using their custom-made profiles. All right, now, on a different subject, a person with a Mac wants to get into profile creation, and that person is yet not really delved into the world of color management. Had it been a Windows machine, I would have said no problem. You get yourself a Color Monkey photo and proceed to create profiles by turning off the driver color matching or color management option to off or none. Unfortunately, a Mac does that automatically only if you already have a profile. Okay, my wife just called me up because her computer decided to reboot, and I had to help her get everything back to working order. So anyway, we were talking about profile creation on a Mac. Here's what happens. When you are creating a profile, you're going to be printing some charts that either the software generates for you or the piece of hardware generates for you. It all depends. And that set of charts has to be printed with no color management. And on a Mac, the only way you can tell the driver to not use color management is when you're printing already with a profile and you tell Photoshop, for instance, to control color rather than the printer. Well, when you do not have a profile and you're merely trying to create a profile, there's no way to turn off color management on a Mac driver. So what you need, especially with Photoshop, is a special color management printing tool. And if you guys are interested in knowing what that is, I'll look it up for you and tell you where to reach it. Now, that may or may not work with some of the newer versions of the Mac OS. And what I suggest is that, especially for those of you who love updating your Mac computers the minute that a new OS update is available, and then you come to realize that your printer is not producing the same prints you were getting with your previous OS. And that happens quite often. And it's just one of those idiosyncrasies of Mac OS and drivers for photo printers. They just don't like each other. And so what I suggest that you do is keep thumb drives that you can set to act as boot drives with versions of the different OSs. In other words, load your operating system onto these bootable devices and just keep a set of them. Maybe the newest one, the previous one, and the one prior to that. And that way, if you update to a new OS and something goes awry, you can, boot from that other earlier OS and figure out exactly what it was that just disappeared all of a sudden. It is also known that often when you even when you download the driver on either the Canon site or the Epson site for your particular printer, the profiles, the standard profiles that are usually installed with the driver, along with the driver, never have a problem with a Windows machine. Seem to just go somewhere and the user cannot find them. And so that's really a weird situation that I don't understand, because years and years and years ago I gave up on Mac, especially when I started to print photos. And I'm sorry for you guys that use Mac and believe and dream and eat and breathe and sleep Mac. It's a problem, not with your normal work, but when it comes to printing photos. And so that's just my opinion, and it's totally biased. I'll tell you that right now. But that's what I have experienced, and many others are experiencing the same thing. That's why they keep asking me these questions. All right. I get a lot of questions about all kinds of other printers that are not considered photo printers, office printers, laser printers, the different types of Expression brand Epson printers, all of these other printers that have combination scanner and duplex function and all of that. I know very little about those. In fact, I know zip about those types of printers because I choose to surround myself with nothing but dedicated photo printers. So often I just don't have an answer for you. So I would just suggest, don't even bother asking me. I'm really, really stupid when it comes to those types of printers. And what I will do is that I will lead you over to the dpreview printer forum. So dpreview.com, and then you sign up and get an account, and then you go and open up their printer forum. And there's when you can ask these guys, because they have thousands of members and they use every kind of printer under the sun, especially those new Epson printers with the built-in continuous ink systems that used to only be available in foreign countries. Well, now they're finally kind of trickling into the United States, and a lot of people want to use those. All right, let's see, what else do we have? I think that was it. I think I covered everything. All right, so now I'm still going to be printing on those Hahnemuhle papers. Again, these past 2 weeks, in fact 3 weeks, have been so busy that I just haven't had the time nor the energy to come down here and do some work. So hopefully once the Thanksgiving holidays are gone, I'll be able to get a little bit of work done. But then again, I'm going to be gone for 5 days. We're going to take a vacation and visit my wife's sister in Milwaukee, and that's going to be partying and drinking beer, let me tell you. So once I get back from that, then there is nothing to keep me from doing a lot of work. Right now, I am about 560 some odd videos on my channel. And so I think I've covered pretty much all ends. And I appreciate that people keep viewing some of my older work. And often when they ask a question that I've already covered, say a year ago, I will try to direct them over to that particular video so they can get an answer. A lot of this information is pretty much universal. And so no matter whether, 10, 15, 20 generations of printers come out, the same applies to basically all of them. So it's good to go back and review some of my earlier videos, because it also covers a lot of the stuff that's prevalent and relevant to all of the new models that are out there that I am salivating to buy, but I still cannot. All right, so that is it. I want to thank everybody for their support. Like I said earlier, I just hit 4,000, but now I'm at 4,100 and plus subscribers, and that's awesome. Don't forget to click on the little bell next to the subscribe button so you will get email notices on your phone or your computer, whatever you choose to use, whenever I upload some new material for you guys to watch. And that is awesome. It's an awesome way to communicate with everybody so that they all know that I have uploaded something new that may be of interest to you. All right, that is it. I'm going to go upstairs. My son is coming in about 5 minutes, and we are actually going to watch some WWE Survivor Series on the WWE Network on my television. My son loves that stuff, and my dad sure did as well. Rest in peace. And so we're going to have a great time. We're going to make a nice dinner and have a good father, son, and mother time. Mother will not be watching the wrestling. She's going to be in the bedroom. So, all right, that is it for now. Please subscribe and share and like. And as always, happy printing, everybody. Bye-bye.